half of entry-level white-collar jobs potentially gone. That's scary for a lot of people. But Altman's take is kind of surprising. He thinks young people are the luckiest kids in history because they have these tools. One person building a billion-dollar company. Okay, let's get into it.
Yeah, and what's really fascinating right off the bat is just how fast the story shifted. It went from this, almost apocalyptic buzz to a much colder dose of reality, almost overnight. Remember those first whispers?
Oh, yeah.
GPT-5 outperforming actual humans on the simple benchmark? That was the story.
Right, and the immediate reaction was panic. Programmers getting layoff notices, the whole deal. It felt very Luddite, almost.
Exactly. That was the hype cycle in full swing.
Yeah.
Total maximum overdrive.
But then the reality check hit. And this is where it gets, interesting and maybe a bit awkward for OpenAI. That simple bench score, turns out, just a rumor. A really sticky rumor, but still.
Just a rumor that went completely viral.
Yeah, and the actual tests, the independent ones, they painted a very, very different picture. GPT-5 is ranking, fifth on some leaderboards?
Around fifth, yeah. And crucially, it didn't beat Grok on the ARC AGI benchmark. That's a pretty big detail that got kind of glossed over in the initial excitement.
It really makes you think about how we process these announcements, doesn't it? Especially with the marketing engine going full blast.
Totally. And it wasn't just the benchmarks, it underwhelmed the betting markets too. OpenAI isn't even the favorite for the best model of 2025 anymore. And then people started looking closer at OpenAI's own charts.
Oh, you mean the infamous y-axis? That doesn't make any sense.
That's the one. It was messy. Looked almost deliberately confusing.
Which is weird, right? If this thing is supposed to be super intelligent, PhD-level smart, was OpenAI trying to mislead people? Or is GPT-5 itself just a bit quirky with its logic, even if they say it's less deceptive? Honestly, it's kind of embarrassing for a company that big.
It definitely cast a shadow on the transparency, yeah. But if we move past the marketing stumbles and look at the actual innovation, it's clear GPT-5 isn't just about being bigger or smarter by throwing more data at it. Those days are kind of over. The real shift, the core idea, is that it unifies multiple models.
Okay, what does it mean exactly? Unifies models.
It means it bundles together different specialized abilities, like fast reasoning, smart routing between different internal expert models. So GPT-5 itself figures out the best tool or mode for whatever you're asking it to do. You don't have to choose anymore.
I see. So it's like an orchestrator behind the scenes, picking the right specialist for the task.
Exactly. You don't need to pick between GPT-4 Turbo or GPT-4 or specific modes. It just handles it, which is a huge leap conceptually.
So does that mean developers can build totally new stuff now? Things that were too complex before, like proper AI agents tackling multi-step problems. Is it like an AI operating system emerging?
That's the direction, yeah. It's an architectural shift. Think of it like a master craftsman who just knows which tool to grab instantly. This internal orchestration makes those AI agents, the ones doing complex tasks, feel much closer, much more real. And you feel it as a user too. The speed is just wild, like 30% to 50% faster for simple questions compared to GPT-4o.
Wow.
Remember trying to figure out which GPT-4 version was best? All that confusion.
That was annoying.
This cuts right through it. GPT-5 becomes the default ChatGPT for everyone. Even free users, it's way more intuitive.
And cheaper too, right? I saw the
Yeah.
pricing. That seemed like a big deal.
Huge deal. Only $10 per $1 million output tokens. Compare that to Claude Opus 4.1 at, $75?
$75. That's a massive difference.
It's incredibly competitive. It's not just an upgrade. It feels like a strategic play to just dominate the market, especially for developers building apps at scale.
Okay, so brings us to the big question. Jobs, programmers specifically. Can GPT-5 really code? And how well?
Right. So there was this test building a Svelte 5 app. That's a pretty modern JavaScript framework. And it used runes, which are kind of cutting edge, something older models choked on.
Yeah.
And initially, the results were stunning. Beautiful code, super fast, faster than other models. It felt like watching a PhD-level Svelte dev just typing at light speed.
Okay, sounds impressive.
Yeah.
But there's always a but with AI, isn't there?
There often is. And here it was a 500 error. The app just crashed.
Why? What went wrong?
It basically hallucinated its own rules. Tried to use one of those runes in the Svelte template where it's just not allowed.
Ah, so it's like a brilliant coder inventing syntax that doesn't actually exist in the language.
Exactly like that. The ability is phenomenal, but that core hallucination problem, it's not gone. Maybe it just shows up in sneakier ways now.
Okay, so it made a mistake. Did it fix it?
It did, and this is where it got really interesting. When prompted about the error, It actually figured it out. It debugged its own hallucinated code, went back and forth a bit, refined it, and boom, functional app, nice UI. That self-correction ability, that's a really significant step for AI programming.
That is impressive. Debugging its own made-up rules.
Okay, what about harder stuff? Like games, I heard about Tetris and Pokemon chess.
Yeah, the Tetris game was vastly better than previous models could manage. It just understood things like score, levels, next piece, without being told explicitly. It knew what makes Tetris, well, Tetris.
It intuited the game design, pretty much. But the chess test, even more telling. Pokemon-themed chess tricky. GPT-5 actually said, out loud essentially, thinking longer for a better answer, which is wild metacognition.
What?
And then it delivered. A fully working game. It highlighted legal moves, understood the premium feel needed, even found and used old Pokemon sprites. It wasn't just coding, it was design, integration, art almost.
So it's not just spitting out code, it's generating better code, understanding the user's intent much more deeply. Sam Altman calls this a shift, right? Less of a sidekick, more of an integrated companion.
Exactly. He sees it as getting the computer to do truly complex things collaboratively. It's a different way of interacting altogether, moving beyond just commands.
Even with these coding leaps, it still makes stuff up, right? The hallucination thing is still there.
Oh, absolutely. It still invents things with total confidence.
Like those fictional tech products.
Mm.
The McDonald's phone, the KFC console, things you definitely cannot buy.
Precisely. Hilarious, but also points to the ongoing challenge. The hallucination problem isn't solved, even if it's maybe different now. On the other hand, its personality seems better. Ask it, what AI are you? And you get a much more human-like answer compared to GPT-4's robotic stuff.
Okay, so maybe better conversationally.
Yeah.
But creatively, I heard it was a mixed bag. Like, worse at making a YouTube thumbnail.
Yeah, the image generation didn't seem like a step up. GPT-5 struggled with basic composition, aspect ratio for that thumbnail. GPT-4 was actually better.
And the Star Wars invitation. GPT-4 nailed it with Vader in a suit, right?
That was brilliant. GPT-5's version, though, kind of bland. Less effort, less spark.
Interesting. So visual creativity, maybe not its strong suit yet?
Apparently not, but it's writing flair. That's definitely improved. It gives much better starting points for scripts, uses analogies, even adds production notes. The writing just feels more natural, more polished than GPT-4. So better with words, maybe less so with pictures right now.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. Let's look forward. Sam Altman's vision. He said GPT-4 was the dumbest model we'll ever have to use. That's a bold statement. And he thinks GPT-5 kicks off an era of instantaneous software creation. What does that even mean, and how does it fit into the bigger picture?
Well, connecting the dots, Altman's predicting something huge. A general AI making a significant scientific discovery within, like, the next 2 years, by late 2027.
A scientific discovery, not just finding patterns, but actual new knowledge.
Exactly. He points to the progress from high school math to winning an IMO gold medal. That's the world's hardest math competition. It suggests a move towards genuine original thought, generating new insights, not just processing old ones.
And he has a definition for superintelligence too, right? Something less Hollywood.
Yeah, pretty practical. He says it's a system that can do AI research better than his whole team or run OpenAI better than he can. It's audacious, but it makes it less abstract, more concrete.
That is audacious. And this kind of power, it's going to change how we see reality itself, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Altman talks about that threshold. How real does something have to be considered real? It just keeps moving. Think about those AI videos, like the bunnies on the trampoline or just filters on our phones. We're already kind of accepting this blend of real and synthetic. It affects everything.
Which loops back to jobs again. Half of entry-level white-collar jobs potentially gone. That's scary for a lot of people. But Altman's take is kind of surprising. He thinks young people are the luckiest kids in history because they have these tools. One person building a billion-dollar company.
Yeah, that's the vision. Unprecedented leverage. But he is worried about older workers, people in their 40s, 50s, adapting to the speed of change.
Yeah.
It's going to be tough. A real generational divide.
So what's holding this future back? What are the bottlenecks?
Altman lays out 4 main ones. First, compute. Just raw processing power. He calls it the biggest infrastructure project ever. Gigawatt-scale data centers, billions of GPUs. Finding the energy is a massive problem.
Billions. Wow. Okay, what else?
Second, data. Models have learned from human data, but now they need to go beyond that. They need to discover new knowledge themselves, not just rehash ours.
So generating their own data,
Yeah,
essentially, through experiment.
Something like that. Third, algorithmic design. We need smarter algorithms, huge efficiency gains, like GPOSS running GPT-4 mini intelligence on a laptop, that kind of leap. And fourth, crucially, Altman's point, product development. Getting these breakthroughs out of the lab and into useful tools people can actually use, that's often overlooked.
Makes sense. And healthcare. He sees massive potential there, too.
Huge. GPT-5 is already apparently much better at health advice. But the vision for, say, GPT-8, it's AI directing cancer research, designing experiments, finding cures, using AI to break scientific logjams.
That's profound. It sounds like a whole new industrial revolution.
He calls it Industrial Revolution 2.0, but 10 times bigger and 10 times faster. He says it's uncharted waters. We'll need to rethink the whole social contract. Maybe make AGI compute super abundant, super cheap, just to keep society stable. Democratize the core resource.
Okay, but with that kind of power, responsibility becomes paramount. How is OpenAI thinking about trust and alignment?
They talk about it a lot. Altman points to choices like not putting a sex bot avatar in ChatGPT, even though it could have boosted growth, as proof they're thinking long-term, ethically.
But they've hit unexpected problems too, right? Like that sickency thing.
Yeah, that was wild. The model being too flattering, too agreeable, to the point it started encouraging user delusions. It showed they need a wider view of risk, beyond just, bioweapons or rogue AI. The subtle psychological stuff matters. How a tiny personality tweak affects billions of conversations.
And people actually miss the yes-man tone for mental health reasons.
Apparently so, which is heartbreaking, really. It shows how deeply embedded these things are becoming in our emotional lives. It's not just code.
So the goal is
Yeah,
a proactive companion, integrated into everything.
that seems to be the vision. Something woven into your calendar, email, suggesting things, anticipating needs, ambient intelligence.
Okay, so for everyone listening, navigating this, what's the key takeaway? Altman's advice.
His core advice is surprisingly simple. Just use the tools.
Just use them.
Yeah, don't just read about it. Experiment, play with it,
Oh.
get fluent, figure out how you can use AI in your life, your work. That's the only way to really grasp it.
Makes sense. Get your hands dirty. And hey, if you're finding these insights useful, maybe even a bit mind-bending, make sure you subscribe to the Deep Dive. You won't miss our next shortcut to understanding this stuff. So as we wrap up, here's something to chew on. You've got these AI builders, right? Brilliant people. One camp sees this amazing, useful future, more choice, golden age, all that.
No.
The other camp, they genuinely fear disaster, existential risk. But here's the thing. Both camps are working like crazy to build it faster. What does that tell us about us? About the human drive to just build, explore, push boundaries, even when the stakes are this unbelievably high?
It's a powerful question. And GPT-5 really embodies that complexity. It's not just a simple upgrade, is it? It's a foundational shift. Unifying models, speeding everything up, challenging what we mean by intelligence, work, creativity. It's got these incredible coding skills, hints of scientific reasoning, but still stumbles on facts, struggles with consistent creativity. The real story isn't just the tech specs. It's the massive questions it forces us to ask about where we're headed and what role we want to play in shaping that future. Because it's becoming fouled.
So what stands out to you listening? What about GPT-5's power or the future it hints at grabs your attention? Let us know your thoughts.